What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see the daily Ravens content, please make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video, you can hit the notification bell as well. Before I get into the video, I will say make sure to come through tomorrow at 3 p.m. on Saturday Eastern time. I will be doing the first ever live with the viewers. Be a lot of fun. Ask questions about Ravens stuff, football stuff, basketball stuff. I don't know, whatever stuff, Star Wars, Marvel, music, whatever you want to ask, we can talk about, have a lot of fun. It's going to be the first one, so it'll be a bit of a learning experience, the first ever stream on the channel, but should be a lot of fun, so make sure to come through to that. But let's get into this video. It's been some weeks, but the Julio Jones rumors to Baltimore are back. I did see the Ravens, I believe, were the highest or the best odds to trade for Julio Jones out of any team in the NFL. And once again, I'm calling for all you Ravens fans, all you media pundits, all you, people calling out for Julio Jones going to the Ravens to stop the cap, okay? I'm going to say three things, okay? Number one, Julio Jones is a generational talent. Still an absolute monster. So this video is not intended to be a disrespectful video towards Julio Jones. I think he's an absolute monster. He would help any football team he goes to. So I just want to say that instantly right away so that people don't think that, I'm like some Julio Jones hater. No, I love Julio Jones. I think he's a monster. But number two, we don't need Julio Jones. Number three, we can't afford Julio Jones. But looking into why we don't need Julio Jones. First of all, I want to say he would help the Ravens. If he came to the Ravens, of course he would help. Of course he would be a better wide receiver than anybody we have. He would, of course. That is not what I'm saying when I say we don't need him. It's not saying that he wouldn't be a benefit. Of course he'd be a benefit. But you look at the wide receiver core that we have built up in this offseason. We drafted Rashad Bateman. We drafted Tylan Wallace. And we signed Sammy Watkins. And you look at the wide receivers that we already have. Estimating right now, wide receivers, 1 through 4 are probably Hollywood, Sammy Watkins, Rashad Bateman, and then Duvernay or Tylan Wallace. That's probably how it's going to be. I don't think it'll be Boykin or Prochet, but that's not what this video is about. If we add Julio Jones, wide receiver 1, obviously. But then, does that mean that we sign Sammy Watkins for nothing? Because he'd be our wide receiver 4? And if he isn't our wide receiver 4, our wide receiver 4 would be Rashad Bateman. And do we want our first round pick to be a wide receiver 4 and not really see the field? I mean, we barely use 4 wide receiver sets as is. So he wouldn't be able to be utilized. One of those two players would not be able to be utilized. And, we're paying Sammy Watkins at, not a ton of money, but we're paying him decent money, like $5 million off the cap. That signing would have been like for nothing if we sign Julio, or I'm sorry, I keep saying sign. When I say sign, I mean trade for. When we trade for Julio Jones, so that would make one of those things. And then obviously Tylan Wallace, Devin Duvernay, and Tylan Wallace would never get a shot. Especially Devin Duvernay, I feel really bad for him because I think me and along with most Ravens fans, we're big fans of Devin Duvernay. We want to see him on the field, but if we have Julio, we're not going to be able to see that. And so. In terms of need, because that was the main point, we don't need Julio. You look at the roster of the Ravens. What is there a need at? Quarterback? No. Wide receiver? No, not anymore. We fixed that. Offensive tackles? No. Offensive guards? No. Center? No. Tight end? No. Running back? No. Fullback? No. Defensive line? No. Linebackers, no. Cornerback, no. Maybe you could say free safety, but we did draft Brandon Stevens, and we do have our Darius Washington, so maybe free safety. Strong safety, no. The only spot is edge. It's the only spot where, there is a hole. We do not have a proven edge rusher on our roster. It's the only spot of need. So if we somehow had the money to sign Julio, we would have obviously signed an edge rusher. Like, if we can't sign Justin Houston, Ryan Kerrigan got like $3 million. We didn't sign him. Ryan Kerrigan, good football player. I think a lot of Ravens fans were intrigued by him potentially coming to Baltimore, went to Philly. But in terms of need, the only need we have is edge rusher. That's the only spot. I talked about it yesterday. I believe in that video, I was kind of ranting about Greg. I'm sorry. I wasn't ranting about Greg Roman. I was ranting about Wink Martindale. So if you want to hear that kind of rant, you can. But if we need a position, then we should fix that position. We shouldn't try and go out and give ourselves, some nice new toy to play with when there's like, a gaping hole in our house. We need to fix up, patch the hole, then buy the new TV system. But so that's in terms of need. Like, we don't need a wide receiver. We fixed those holes. Could he help? Yes. But in terms of, the price and affording him, the initial price, we could make the trade for him. It would probably cost a 2022 second round pick. That would be my rough estimation, because the contract that he has is not super team friendly. But we could afford in terms of that price tag. But I will say in that, Lamar Jackson is going to get his big contract soon. So the amount of players that we're able to have on a rookie deal it's just more and more important than what it has been. When Lamar first got, drafted by the Ravens, he's on cheap deals. Boom. So we can sign these big guys. We can get Marcus Peters. We can bring him in. We can bring in a Calais Campbell. We can do this because Lamar's not making a lot of money. But next year, it's going to be the fifth-year option year, and he's making, I believe, $22 million or over $20 million, which is a massive increase in the cap hit from the quarterback position. And then he's probably going to get, he may be getting $40, $45 million a year. So we're going to need a lot of cheap guys. Cheap guys are the draft picks. So having more draft picks is going to be just so much more important once we have Lamar Jackson under that massive contract, assuming he gets that massive contract. I'm going to make that assumption. Sorry, hopefully it gets done. I really hope I'm correct in that assumption. But so that's that, having draft picks, but it's not like, oh, you can never trade draft. No, you can trade draft picks. It's fine. But we can afford it, but it would be nice to have the picks. But in terms of the cap space, we didn't have the cap space before we even signed Alejandro Villanueva. So how the heck are we supposed to find even more money than we would have had to find earlier? Like an extra $8 million more than what we had to find earlier to sign Julio Jones. We would have to strip the core. We wouldn't be able to do it through restructuring, most likely. We would probably have to make multiple cuts of legitimate important pieces of this team. It wouldn't be like, oh, we're cutting this random veteran, no, it would be like, oh yeah, buy Calais Campbell. Now I don't know the exact cap numbers. I don't know the exact, okay, in order to get Julio, we would have to cut, X amount of players. I don't know the exact values and things like that, but we would have to most likely cut, we would have to lose significant pieces. We wouldn't be able to do it just by all right, because that's what the Ravens' whole method has been in recent years. But how many times can we ask Brandon Williams to restructure his contract? How many times can we ask Tavon Young? It's becoming less and less that we can adjust. And since we couldn't get Julio when we had money to sign Alejandro Villanueva, we had about $10 million before that signing. Or maybe it was around 12, but we had the rookies, which are a $3 million cap hit. And so that was about $12 million, because I believe Julio will be about a $10 million cap hit, which we have 3. And you always want to have that extra money in the rainy day money. If a trade all of a sudden is available midseason, I know we signed an undrafted kicker. Maybe we just trade him off for a 5th round pick and trade that 5th round pick for a stud player. Well, we need that rainy day money in order to afford that stud player. So shout out to EDC for the Kari Vidvik deal. Hopefully he can pull off some more, big deals. Hopefully I said EDC. In my head, I think I said Sam Presti because I'm a Thunder fan, but hopefully I said EDC. But yeah, so in terms of that, we need money for a rainy day. And honestly, we still need money for an edge rusher that I'm a big believer in, that we need to sign one. If you disagree, that's okay. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. That's completely fine. Julio Jones, I wouldn't be up in arms and raging if we traded for Julio Jones. Who would be? Who would be mad at signing a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL or trading for a top 5 wide receiver? It's not a negative. But there's more impactful positives that the Ravens could take those routes instead, like signing an edge rusher or even just saving the money so that we're not in a cap casualty, so that maybe next year in the offseason we have money, or maybe we can trade for somebody mid-year this year. Those types of things, like those are necessary. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this Julio Jones deal. Very curious to see what all you think. Come to the stream tomorrow, Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. Should be a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content, and I will see all of you again on the live stream tomorrow.